Joban, I would love to hear a bit more about yourself. Just introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe. I'm a consultant cardiologist, and my practice is based primarily in West Hertfordshire and central London. So about my journey to medicine. I entered medical school in 1997, gosh, a long time ago. And this was at Guy's and St Thomas's Medical School in central London. I qualified in 2003 with lots of prizes, and then went on to do several rotations in London, in Cambridge, and settled on cardiology as a career. And one of the primary sort of driving factors there was heart problems and heart disease is prevalent amongst the South Asian community. And having had family members inflicted with heart disease, this was a motivating factor to be able to do something about it. So in terms of my cardiology training, I trained in Northwest London on a prestigious rotation which involved Imperial College and the Royal Brompton hospitals, and I qualified in 2017. Amongst all this, I also did a PhD, and my research focused on reasons why South Asians are predisposed to heart disease and diabetes. And we identified some genetic factors. This was all published in really high-ranking journals. In terms of my career, I'm a general cardiologist. I specialize in treating all aspects of adult general cardiology, and my subspecialty interests lie in cardiac imaging, and I'm accredited in all aspects of echocardiography and advanced cardiac imaging, including cardiac MRI and cardiac CT.
What did you wish you knew about private medical practice before you started?
Because the thing I wish I knew now is the barriers, and it takes a lot of hard work to build a big and fruitful private practice. I assumed becoming a cardiology consultant, this would almost fall into my laps, and private practice would be a given. But actually, it requires a hell of a lot of work, and establishing really good links with your colleagues, your peers, being amazing within the NHS, and then private practice follows from there. So once I qualified, I think there was a degree of naivety that having qualified with at a very high level, having achieved everything I could possibly achieve, I felt that it would be a natural progression. And that really wasn't the case. And I would say to any new consultant, it's the most important thing is once you become a consultant, it's the start of a journey. Become the best possible NHS cardiologist or specialist you can become, and the private practice will follow from there.
How do you balance clinical excellence with the realities of running a private medical practice as a business, when it comes to admin, finance, marketing?
It's a real challenge, being the best clinician you can possibly be, and also balancing running a business. Now, as a cardiologist, I have no formal training in running a business, and it's almost learning as you go along. So, inside the marketing side, the secretarial side, it takes up a lot of work. And when in the early days, you feel a bit like a fish out of water. And, I think in the early, there's no balance. And in fact, there's a lot of hard work that goes in, and things like your family life, your personal life, your personal health, for that matter, is what suffers. But the more experienced you get, the more savvy you get, and the better one becomes, learning from all the mistakes that you've made at delegating, involving other people within your practice. When I started out, there was no secretarial cover. I typed my own letters. I would do my own secretarial and administrative tasks, and that took its toll. So investing in good people, investing in a good team, I think has definitely borne fruit, and my practice has definitely grown as a result.
Yeah, amazing. So, do you think medical training should include business education? And if so, what's missing today?
I think that the focus of medical education has to be to equip any budding doctor to be the best clinician they can possibly be. Definitely, I think at medical school level, perhaps, I don't think that there should be much of a focus on the business aspect of it. But I think specialty training, particularly specialties such as cardiology and surgery, which lend themselves better to private practice, there has to be. I wish there was greater accessibility to management type courses, which are specifically geared to clinicians to be able to set up a parallel private practice to their NHS work. So do I think business needs to be a focus at medical school? Less so, perhaps more relevant to dentistry, because dentistry again lends itself more to private healthcare. But saying in the first instance, in the early days, I don't think private practice should be the focus. But as you become more experienced, become more specialist, and in particularly specialities, the way a private practice is significant part of the work you do. I wish there was access to management type courses, which would help equip one with the skills to run your own business, manage your own business, be aware of the pitfalls, and be aware of the likely obstacles you're likely to approach and how best to deal with them.
How do you think AI could help consultants improve their either patient experience or clinic efficiency?
Okay. I already implement AI in my practice, and I've already seen the benefits of this. I'm specifically referring to ambient AI, where I have a patient consultation. Having been a patient myself, you go into a clinic and the consultant is busy typing away and, not really maintaining eye contact. I found this quite impersonal, and I'm pretty conscious of having done this myself. I've recently implemented ambient AI within my own practice, which is a software that listens to my consultation, transcribes my consultation, and from there generates a letter or a set of notes, which are done to a really high level. This means that I can maintain eye contact with my patients all the time. I can talk to them. I can listen to them. All those soft, communication skills, maintaining a good rapport, maintaining good eye contact. I feel that this enhances the patient experience, and most importantly, the patients feel listened to. So I think this is only the beginning. I think AI is critically important. I'm already seeing massive benefits in the patient experience, but also cuts down the amount of admin time I do. Now, I also specialize in advanced cardiac imaging. So I spend a lot of time looking at cardiac MRIs and cardiac CTs. And, I'm already seeing AI being implemented more so in the research arena with understanding and analyzing imaging. And I can only see that working in parallel with me to improve the diagnosis and the service I give to my patients.
What do you think separates a medical consultant who thrives in private practice compared to someone who perhaps just survives?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I think a few things to say here. I find the best consultants are the ones who are available. So they have time to commit to private practice. They're amicable. So they're nice people and establish a good rapport with their patients. And a lot of patients then go and speak to their friends and colleagues. And when they're asked for recommendations, that in itself sort of mushrooms into further work. I think in addition, having good relationships with your colleagues, your peers, is also very important. That's an avenue for generating referrals. And, people who have good relationships, not only with their colleagues, but with GPs, be it historically, having gone to medical school or through social networks or professional networks, all of that really helps. I think also practice is really hard work. I think it's really important that if you're going to, really be successful, you've also got to understand that something has to give, and you've got to be prepared to invest a lot of time. And it's usually spare time, so it's not your normal NHS hours, but it's work outside that time. Something has to give, be it your personal life or your gym session, whatever. It's striking that balance between work and life can be very difficult. And I find that the people who really, really thrive are the ones who actually commit a lot of time and give a lot of time to their private practice. So it's not something that you've got to be really prepared to invest that time.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. And this is something that we've kind of spoken about quite a lot on our calls, I think on our first and second call. But how do you think consultants can maintain trust and professionalism whilst also marketing their services at the same time? Where's the balance there?
Look, I think as a medic, and I'm probably a very typical medic, we're not in the habit of advertising what we do, particularly in online media. It doesn't come naturally to us to be able to advertise what we do and celebrate the skills we have. I think we're generally quite an understated body of individuals. But I think we're living we're living in a era where people make a judgment by your online presence, by your online footprint. So, I don't think we need to be embarrassed about saying, look, hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is what I'm good at, and this is where I can potentially help you. I mean, so, I don't think we need to necessarily, find a balance. I think what we do need to do is embrace online tools such as Instagram, traditional websites, TikTok, to create, because, the younger generation are using these tools, including YouTube, to educate themselves, to identify people who can help them. I think people like myself, who are considered probably a dinosaur, who hasn't embraced social media, hasn't embraced the internet. I don't think I'm utilizing it to its full potential, and my practice is probably been detrimentally affected by that. But increasingly moving forward, people will be given a name. Will want to see a cardiologist. They'll Google, doctor, and if Doctor X isn't online, hasn't got a proper presence, hasn't made the effort to advertise their skill set, I think it's going to be to their detriment.
What was the biggest mindset shift that you had to have when you were transitioning from 100% NHS consultant to now business owner?
I think clinically there was no difference. Okay, how I treat someone in the NHS and how I treat someone privately would be exactly the same. The difference here, the mindset, is that there's different expectations of patients in the private sector, and that took some adjusting to. In the NHS, and most people are very grateful for everything you can possibly do. Certainly the patients I see privately will be treated, but have the same treatment if I was to see them in the NHS. So there are no shortcuts. Never go over the top to do unnecessary investigations. But I think the change in mindset was dealing with the higher expectations of patients who are paying for your services. And that includes making sure that things are done promptly, letters are sent out within 24 hours of the consultation, making sure that results are and tests are available rapidly, and the results are available within a few days. So that was probably the biggest change, making things a little bit more rapid, but at the same time ensuring that quality never was compromised.
What advice would you give to perhaps like a young consultant who is just entering private medicine, right? What advice would you give to them? Something that you wish your younger self would know.
Okay. The advice I'd like to give someone who's embarking on my practice. Firstly, don't be embarrassed, don't be reluctant. You deserve to be in a position where you invested time, effort into becoming the best possible specialist you can. Private practice should be, a byproduct of this hard work and investment in time. I would say don't be in a rush. First, in the first couple of years, make sure you're the best possible NHS consultant you can possibly be. The transition from being a resident to a consultant is quite steep, and there's a lot of learning to be done. So be the best possible NHS consultant you can possibly become, and get the respect of your colleagues, and from there things will be progressed. Okay, so don't be in a hurry. But when you do embark on private practice, make sure that you understand the basics of running a business, setting up a limited company, understanding the financial aspects of this. And there's so many people around, there's so many resources on the internet that can give you a lot of advice. But, first, I can speak from my own experience. When I talk about private practice to my colleagues and my friends, there's a sense of embarrassment. And that shouldn't be the case. Every specialist has worked hard to get where they are. You deserve to participate in private practice, and you have to carve out your niche and reap the benefits.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.